Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Earthdawn Survival Guide, the podcast for all disciplines, paths, players, and game masters with your questers, Josh and Dan. I'm Dan.
I'm Josh.
And on today's podcast, we'll be discussing all things geographical because we're going to go through the Vivane boxed set yet again and break down the other provinces, kind of not in like great detail. We're just going to skim over all of them a little bit and talk about the as we're working our way towards the city of Vivane. This is the other surrounding areas you also could be coming from. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So if you have any questions for us, please drop us a line at edsgpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll, of course, do a mailbag episode here pretty quick. Otherwise, Josh, it's been a minute. How you been? How's the play?
It's been more than a minute. It's pretty good. The play called Cosmogenesis, The Story of Us. This is the world premiere. It was originally written and developed for the Fisk Planetarium in Boulder, but they had some delays in their production, so they haven't actually put it on there yet. And so we got the opportunity to do it first, which is kind of cool. I don't know if, like, anybody who has done theater, like if you've seen a script, like when you are putting on a production of a play that's been done before, right? Typically in the front section of the script that you will get from the, like, either Samuel French or like whatever place it is that kind of sells the scripts and manages the rights and royalties for productions. Typically those scripts in the front will have, this play was originally put on at such and such a place, and this was the original cast and director and stuff like that. If something like that ever kind of comes up for this, our little company here in Maine will be in that.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's a little bit unusual. I did mention the Fisk Planetarium. This is not a play like in the sort of most common sense of it. It is a combination of live action performance, play, drama, or whatever, along with things, images, montages, stuff like that being projected on the planetarium dome. Like, for example, there's a scene where the central character, the main character whose name is Lotus, is looking something up on her computer.
Yeah.
And so, like, down on the floor, sort of like where our stage is, and I say that in quotes because there's not really a stage in the planetarium. There's just kind of like some floor space down in front of the seats.
There's an area, yeah.
There's an area, has laptop with it open, but facing away from the audience, obviously. But then up on the dome is projected
her screen.
Right. Like what, I mean, she's not actually seeing that down there, but like what her search is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But basically it is the story of Lotus. She was born in Kazakhstan and of Chinese descent, but then was adopted at 6 months old by an American couple.
Family. Yeah.
You know, a white couple. I play the adoptive dad in the show. Real stretch for me playing a dad.
Playing a white guy.
But she's a freshman in college and she is really trying to wrestle with identity and where she comes from and what a common refrain amongst adopted children of, especially those who come from, you know, another country and are in the US and, you know, identity and background and heritage and all that sort of thing. And in the course of it is taking a couple of classes, and it kind of deals a little bit with philosophy and things like Descartes and the sort of elegant, like the clockwork potential, like that one view of the universe, and another is like an elegant mind. And she meets a cosmology professor who presents this idea of how if you expand your view far enough, everything is connected.
Yeah.
That basically everything that exists on Earth, kind of going back to like Sagan's idea of star stuff.
Yep.
The atoms, the elements that make up our bodies were forged in the heart of stars and spread across. The air that we're breathing is the same oxygen that's been, circulating the planet for billions of years.
Yep.
Like that kind of idea of connection is what you sort of make of it, and how your perspective of the world, of the universe, of yourself can kind of change based on your framing, and get this kind of idea of, I have a home galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really cool.
So it's a light play.
Yeah. We had a talk back after our Saturday matinee where audience members that wanted to stick around, we had like a discussion with the playwright who came up for the show,
mm-hmm.
and the director and the cast and whatnot. And it was like an hour-long discussion. So it was really well received. We've got one more weekend, 3 shows, 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. But I'm really enjoying it. It's nice to be working with these folks again. These are the same people that I did Life Sucks with back earlier this year.
Yes.
So I'm really enjoying it. Relatively speaking, I have a small part. Like I'm in like 3 scenes total.
Mm-hmm.
2 right at the beginning, and then I'm like not anywhere in the middle of the show, and then I like show up at the end. So there's a lot of me sitting backstage, which is fine. But the process of breaking down the script and getting the sense of the story, it is really a lot more episodic than some,
mm-hmm.
Trying to find that narrative through line in the whole process and whatnot. I really, really enjoy it.
Good.
It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to.
Fair. And over just in time for the holidays.
I'm not sure what I'm doing next. It's probably gonna be a production of Coriolanus, the Shakespeare play. Auditions for that are the Monday right after the show. It's being directed by one of my castmates from
the show,
Cosmogenesis.
Yeah.
Who I also have worked on with other stuff. And so I'm thinking about going out for that. Other productions that are kind of going on
scratch that
are
itch.
sort of interfering with other stuff. But yeah, like the opportunity to do Shakespeare again, because I haven't done any Shakespeare in quite a while, is really interesting.
Yes. Challenge accepted.
But anyway, one other thing I want to mention, maybe by the time this goes up, but earlier this evening, I sent in what is hopefully the final proof draft for Legends of Barsaive 113.
Oh, nice.
The first chapter of the last 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be like, it's up for sort of final sanity checking and scanning and whatnot, to make sure that there's nothing blatantly wrong. 114 is all edited. I've got to get that through layout and whatnot, and hopefully get that through relatively quickly to have that out in a timely manner.
Yeah, fair.
That likely won't be until probably early in the new year. FreedoniaCon is at the tail end of February this year. I don't remember the exact dates off the top of my head. So yeah, things are moving along.
Absolutely. Tail end of February looks like the 26th for Thursday, 27th, Friday, 28th, Saturday.
Yeah, it's because like in the past it had been like the same weekend as Valentine's Day, like around the 14th, and I think we for various reasons it got pushed off to like that last weekend, the 28th.
Yeah, okay.
February 28th, March 1st. That's when it is.
Fair.
In part because the Valentine's Day was on the Saturday.
Right.
And then the following weekend, at least right now, my plans are to be in Boston for a thing down there.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the tentative plan. If you want more information on that, check out the website or come to the Discord. I'm sure there's more discussions about it there. We welcome people who want to run games or do various things so that we don't have to come up with everything ourselves.
Yes. We take contributions.
It is not clear. Dan and I haven't talked about whether we're going to be doing a live podcast or not.
It's a coin flip.
On the Sunday. When that gets a little bit closer, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do. Put Halloween costumes on or, play virtual football catch or something. I don't know. Anyway, on to the things geographical. We're going to talk about the Theran Provinces. So I think we want to bring this up because I'm taking the view of we're all coming from the land of Barsaive, and so we're headed toward Skypoint and uncovering all this box set. There's 3 different books to read, and so I figured we just keep encroaching and encroaching and encroaching on the city. So now we're talking about the other provinces of Thera, essentially, aside from Vivane.
Yeah, the first book, Barsaive and Vivane, which the bulk of which describes part of the city of Vivane, does open up with an overview that's several pages long of the Theran Empire, which is really, in terms of publication order, the first time that anything like that came about. It's like 15 pages.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff about Thera, the role that different name-giver races play in Thera,
the noble houses,
insights into the noble houses, the relationship to Barsaive, a little bit about the Theran government, the first governor and the conclave, and the imperial forces, the armies and the navies. This is really kind of the first insight that is provided to the Theran Empire itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens with kind of an overview of the Theran Empire as it was. Describes that at its narrowest point, it takes more than 12 days by airship to cross from one border to the other.
Yes.
The main reason that, part of the difficulty, much like Rome had, it is difficult to administer or effectively control territory that is so far flung from your bases.
Yeah, because this is not the era of high technology where you can have satellite phone call to make sure your generals are administering things properly. This takes an airship 12 days to deliver a message at best. So no matter what, you're a month away.
Depending on where you're
back. You got 24 days. It's almost a month long to,
and depending on where you're sending the message from and things like that.
Yeah.
So there is quite a bit of liberty, of freedom, flexibility for the overgovernors and generals and admirals of the Theran military in a particular province to decide what actions they are going to take to further the broader imperial strategy that is being handed down from the conclave, which is something that kind of gets talked about in Barsaive at War. Prelude to War, rather.
Yes.
Where it talks about how part of what's going on with the whole situation leading to the landing of the Triumph is kind of a shakeup in the leadership and goals of the Therans in Vivane.
Yeah.
And what they're going to be kind of doing going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the chapter, again, starts off with kind of an overview of summarizing the Theran provinces and a couple of other lands as well. And I guess I'll kind of gently toss the ball over to you.
Start us off. So before the Theran Empire sourcebook came out, this was still kind of nebulous. We have this area over here and this area over here. And because I never bothered to look it up, the Thera, the head state of Thera, the main area of Thera's control, the seat of their power, is an island in what would be on Earth, the Mediterranean, but near the
more specifically, the Aegean.
Yes, near the eastern side of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not specifically revealed in this book, but it's fairly clear when the Theran Empire book itself comes out that the general idea is that Thera is on what is today the island sometimes referred to as Santorini, also called Thira in the original Greek.
Yep.
And the map of Great Thera of the island actually does... Now, today... the island is just the remains of the caldera of an undersea volcano.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where, some long time ago, there was a big eruption that blew up most of the island.
Yeah.
And the Great Thera the outline of the island does match up to a certain extent with the remaining bit of Santorini that is above the water.
Yes.
The idea being that in this reality, the reason that the island blew up was because of what happens when the magic goes away, essentially. Which I think we've kind of talked about in other episodes.
Yes.
Thera has essentially been artificially maintaining the magic level, which is why it has not continued to drop since the tail end of the Scourge.
Yeah.
But that is a powerful natural cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's been likened to stretching an elastic band.
Yes.
And that you get more and more tension on it, and eventually it snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And the snapping is basically what destroys Thera, and presumably a lot of the other records and relics and artifacts of the Fourth World.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. Which is why there doesn't appear to be any surviving record of such a thing.
Yeah, or ruins or anything. So
right, yeah, exactly. Even though sort of time-wise, depending on how we count things, we go from there. Anyway.
Exactly. So just want to keep everybody in mind, when we talk about where one of these provinces is around the overlaid map of current geography with Earth Dawn geography, just wanted to know where the seat of power is in that sea. So as we get there, I think this is all actually alphabetical. Yeah, this is alphabetical. So we'll just start with Creana. Creana is several interlocking imperial provinces, all desert lands. And for those who want the overlay of modern geography, this would be your North Egyptian coast and what is the Eastern Mediterranean coastline, the lands south and deep into continental Africa. It's basically like a wedge, just straight down. It just kind of tapers and tapers and tapers the further south you get on this whole thing, if you wanted to overlay that at all. Next to the Nile River. But Creana, before Thera conquered Creana, the people there lived in their own little city-states, and there's a current blending of the old structure ruling with the current Theran new rule custom, and so there's a hodgepodge of distinct styles of politics and ruling in each little city-state. So this is a whole big sandbox playground for any game master to say, we're going to drop by this city-state in Creana versus that city-state in Creana. Kind of have your way with how the politics work and the structure of government.
Yeah, and each of these summaries of the various provinces are only like a paragraph or two, most of them. Really, really basic.
Yes.
But Creana calls out vast river delta, huge stone pyramids, intricate tombs, desert sands, like essentially, you know, because of where it is and the imagery that's conjured up, we're talking about
Egypt.
Yeah. And ancient Egypt, sort of in particular.
Super ancient.
Yeah, it refers to the most ancient and deepest of the tombs are said to be the resting places of dragons, and magicians claim that opening the seals laid on them might well cause a magical cataclysm equal in violence to the Scourge.
Yep.
And this brings me to sort of the broader point that I want to make with regards to all of these.
Yes.
Is that there is this perception of the Theran Empire book, which came out a couple of years after this, bringing in this notion of all of these various provinces being pastiches of aspects of the cultures that are sort of geographically where they are.
Yeah.
That was not original with that book. That groundwork was laid all the way back here in this box set. You know, as we'll see perhaps even more blatantly with the other provinces that we're going to discuss real quickly, it's not something that came out of nowhere. This was something that was at least conceptually in existence prior to the Theran Empire sourcebook.
Yeah.
I think maybe the difference being that here we only get a paragraph or two for each, which is really broad strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And that then we get to the Theran Empire book where each of these provinces gets 15, 20 pages or something like that. I forget exactly how many each gets, which allows a certain amount of fleshing out, but maybe not enough to provide the Earth Dawn twists or uniqueness that people had expected, in part because you've got, at that point, 20 pages about an entire province where we had how many source books, how many words written about Barsaive.
Yes.
And also, we've talked about this on the show before. I think we may even talked about it a little bit with Lou when he was on the show.
Yeah.
It's in contrast to, Barsaive doesn't appear to have any real connection to folkloric or ancient Eastern Europe and Ukraine and Russia and things like that. Why is it that these other areas have it? And, maybe the idea of there being cycles, that the reason that, maybe things are the way they are is that it's an echo of what had gone on in the past. From a certain standpoint, Egypt, Creana probably works the best out of all of them because ancient Egypt is ancient.
Yeah.
When the pyramids were built, there were still woolly mammoths.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, really ancient. And so if there was some kind of idea of a continuity of culture, it could certainly be there because there are things in Egypt that are potentially old enough to not be that far removed from what would have been the tail end of the Fourth World.
Yes.
But all of that aside, we may, depending on how things go, get into the Theran Empire book and talk about the individual provinces in a little bit more depth. Yeah. But that's kind of the big thing that I wanted to address is this whole thing kind of didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah, this was published in 1995. The Theran Empire was what, 99?
No, 97, 98? I'm not sure off the top of my head.
So, a couple of years of development, if it was full-time development, or just a couple of years later than the foundation that was laid here.
Theran Empire sourcebook is copyright 97.
Nice. I was off by 2 years.
Well, 99, it certainly would not have been 99 because 99, I think, if anything was published, that was the last year that anything was published.
Yeah.
So it would have been like Carafat or the Crystal Raiders book.
That's what I was thinking. This one came last, but I was obviously my number.
No, this one came kind of in the middle.
I think it's because I picked it up last. That's why.
That may very well be.
My memory's faulty. Period. End of story. So within Creana, they do highlight one city. It has its own little paragraph, the city of Karnard. And it's often called the Great City of Creana, which has 470,000 inhabitants and is built around the river delta that Josh spoke of. Pyramids, intricate tombs, and so forth and so on. So that you do at least have one city mentioned to play with. You can kind of...
Karnard, of course, being fairly obviously, at least to me, a reference to Karnak, which is a famous Egyptian site and city.
All of these are thinly veiled and cleverly renamed. So you can somewhat cleverly.
So again, like pointing out that whatever your feelings on it may be, the groundwork was laid for this further back than
just the source book.
Than just the Theran Empire source book itself.
Yeah, so this is the foundation. On to Indrisa, and I keep wanting to put an extra I in this, and it doesn't exist. So it's Indrisa. I want to say it right the first time before I screw everybody else up. So if Creana is what is modern day Egypt and kind of the upper Mediterranean, Eastern Mediterranean borders, because it goes around all that shoreline, Indrisa lies east-southeast.
Yeah, the territory when you get to the Theran Empire sourcebook, the territory that's kind of covered by Creana also extends up through Sinai and along the Middle East.
Yeah, it's a lot of shoreline.
Yeah, a lot of shoreline. They do have a city or two that's a little bit further inland in that area, but that's basically what it is, kind of like along the river and then up along the eastern shores of the Med.
Yeah, so that should have a lot of, and before we get to the source book at all, a lot of ports and seafaring and so forth and so on, because that's the entire basis of their economy. Indrisa is east-southeast of the Isle of Thira, as they say in the description, and you have to go look at the map. This is basically the eastern quarter of the Mediterranean, and this is the oceanic coast of modern-day India. So
Yeah, it's the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah, they put an R in the S in Indrisa to make it from India. So again, thinly veiled, but it works. This is described as hot, dry plains, impenetrable hills, vast mountains on its northern border, because of course that would be where, I can't say Tibet is, but close enough. To the Empire of Thera, Indrisa gives fine spices, gold and silver, gems, and this is where masterliths, the war elephants, come from. So this is the fun stuff. And their imperial capital is called Calcutana instead of Calcutta. So again, a thinly veiled, we're okay with this. Thera has built several more glittering cities in Indrisa. They like the riches that are here, available here. But this also has orc bandits and marauding Pathan troll clans still operating and thriving. So it's taken a little bit from Barsaive and mixed it with the the troll raiders and the orc raiders as well. So you've got your roving bands on the hot desert dry plains.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what we've got here in this little capsule description where it's talking about, tribes of orc bandits and marauding troll clans that are kind of enemies of Thera. Like, that's basically kind of getting into the cultural monolith, like the idea that, the orcs that aren't part of the empire are these roving bands of, just like Scorchers and the orc cavalries in Barsaive. Yeah. It's the same idea. And you've got the troll clans that thrive in certain parts that are enemies of the empire, just like the Twilight Peaks trolls.
Well, and since we've covered the troll clans in Barsaive and we've covered the orc nations of Carafad, we all now know how non-monoculture those are. So take that with a grain of salt, because I think those source books came after this one, but still.
Yeah. Well, and again, it comes down to the value of having space to breathe and provide counters to the stereotypes.
Yes.
When you are able to describe half a dozen different orc tribes, you need to find ways to differentiate them. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they're all going to blend together and nobody, like, nothing's gonna stand out.
Yeah.
When you only have a paragraph and you're talking about, yes, there are fierce tribes of roving orcs that are bandits, and you've got these troll clans that stand in against the empire. Well, yeah, like we have those in Barsaive too.
Well, I also think this is written from the perspective of Thera, which they just seem any opposition as just pesky and irritating. And so all those tropes will just lump them together. All the orcs will lump them together too.
I don't think that's the case.
Fair.
With this book doesn't strike me as one that is written
first person.
From first person. Like it's got like little sidebars that are pulled out in terms of things said by people, but this feels like it's written more like, say, the Thrall source book or Serpent, like Serpent River or Thrall or Bloodwood, where it's providing information and there are some bits that are first person that are in setting.
Gotcha.
But that for the most part, it's not like the Explorer's Guide to Barsaive or the Denizens of Earthdawn books, where the vast majority of the information is an actual document that exists in setting.
Fair.
I don't think that's the case here with this one.
Completely fair. Completely fair. I will retract my statement. We have 3 left. On to Marac. Marac is a desert province west of Thera. Now remember, Thera is an island in the Mediterranean. West of Thera on the southern shore of a vast sea. Actually, it's the northern shore. I get that one wrong. This is basically your northern Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya spot.
It's on the southern shore of the sea.
Right. Okay.
It's the north. Yeah, this is North
Africa.
Africa.
Of the continent, southern shore of the sea. So,
right.
Geography's
Directions
hard
are hard
today. It's hard today. It's also been a month. So Marac has a lot of Theran customs and traditions have not really taken over or rooted themselves there to overcome the native practices. So it's not that they're resistant. Those practices there are just more entrenched. And so Thera's having a hard time getting their ways and means to take over for the local population. But Maracian population is generally intelligent and sophisticated, which might be why they're having a hard time taking over those customs and so forth. They're also kind of wily witty people. But Maracian scholars are renowned for their astronomy, their astrology. The warriors, known as the Suffolk, are fierce and deeply spiritual and hold contempt for foreigners, yet admire the empire because they admire mighty things in the temporal world. So a lot of clash of cultures there.
Yeah. It doesn't come, like, again, if you're sort of reading between the lines and you have the awareness of the Theran Empire source book, Marac is very Arabian Nights.
Yes.
1001 Nights, the tales of Scheherazade and Aladdin and all of those various things.
Absolutely.
If we talk about the scholars, great renown for astronomy and astrology, and like there's a very Islamic caliphate kind of feel to it, which is kind of the source of that. Again, feelings about the appropriateness of that aside, this is what you've got here. This one does not really give any hints to the primary struggle that gets fleshed out in the Theran Empire sourcebook.
Yeah, fair.
Where Thera is having difficulty control. Like, it does kind of give indication that things aren't great between them.
It's a sentence or two where it's like, the local customs are still holding on. Thera's, they can't quite get those things worked in there. So you can infer, before the Theran sourcebook came out 2 years later, you can infer that there's difference of opinion, much less political struggle, much less, rebellion or upheaval. You can infer whatever you want at this point before that source book comes out. But yes, Marac, thinly veiled from Morocco. It's the northern shore of Africa, the southern shore of the Mediterranean. Now that I got my geography right. So, a nice, fun place to be. And because Tunisia, we've all seen Tunisia, whether you've been there or not, that's where they filmed the original Star Wars, in the deserts of Tunisia.
Well, that's where they filmed most of the Tatooine stuff.
Absolutely. So we've all seen it. If you haven't seen Star Wars, what are you doing listening to us? Go watch Star Wars and come back. Just saying. However, we have 2 left. So on to Talea, the long, narrow peninsula due west of Vivane and closest to us, kind of shaped like a boot. Just going to say.
AKA the Italian peninsula.
Yes. So Talea, Italy, knock yourself out. This was conquered easily due to the internal pride in the north versus south city-states of Talea. They couldn't figure out who should conquer or who should repel Thera better. And so because of the internal strife, that's why
because of the internal squabbling, they were not able to band together effectively to drive the Therans out.
Yes.
And because of their relative proximity to Thera, it all fell relatively easily. They're not that far removed, so it's easy for Thera to extend their influence, to project their military might there.
Yeah, it's a quick trip to go keep them in line versus sailing halfway across the globe.
This is another one where the further development you get in the Theran Empire sourcebook is not really hinted at particularly strongly in here. The northern territories and kind of fighting against the southern territories, you do have a little bit of, surprisingly, a little bit of a Switzerland reference in here. The very tail end, it does talk about the dwarfs of northern Talea are renowned for producing superb pikemen.
Yep. And I find this one weird because in the 2 paragraphs you've got, it actually separates out the northern Talea people. The land is more fertile and the citizens are fair of skin and more pragmatic. And then the southern Talea is hotter, drier because you're closer to the equator. The citizenry has darker skin and are more temperamental. So it's one of those, this is the only one that has any kind of breakdown as far as the citizenry is concerned, other than just this number of people live here. So,
but again, it's also kind of playing into the imagery that we have of historical Italy and present day Italy, where the northern parts up closer to the Alps and whatnot, higher altitude, more moderate, temperate climate, whereas the southern parts that are down in the Med are affected a lot more strongly by Sicily and again, like
Rome.
Kind of playing into the stereotypes a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Which I'm curious. I'm curious if Lou is any part Italian.
I don't know.
Oh,
Prosperi seems to be, but
seems to be. I don't know.
It does reference, again, kind of like looking at the Renaissance idea that, started kind of largely in Italy with the arts and whatnot, that being a significant thing that's mentioned in here as well.
Absolutely. So, Talea, as you said, very close to Thera's headquarters and easier to kind of maintain your hold on and control of, and, faster to dispatch your army there, as you said. Last and certainly not least, because there's a whole source book on this one that we'll get to eventually, Vasgothia. And this is a land of dense forests. So we went from plains and
deserts
and so forth, and shoreline to dense forests and dark, forbidding mountains. So a complete change of atmosphere. This is due west of Barsaive through the poison forest and the wastes. I had to go look this up on the map. This is what you would consider the modern Netherlands and Germany, Austria, and just a little bit of Switzerland in there as well. Northwest. This is also listed as northwest of Vivane. So it's kind of that little V checkmark thing. So you got Barsaive to the right, Vivane to the southwest, and then up to the left of that again, you got Vasgothia. So this has vast tracts of polluted astral space, which again, whole source book on. Recommend you pick that one up. But Vasgothia has rumors of haunted forests and mountains, and haunted by specters and magical beasts. So just fun. All kinds of Earth Dawn fun to go playing around in there.
It's drawing on the ideas of the old, talk about kind of like the Roman Empire's interactions with the Germanic tribes and the difficulty that they had.
Yeah.
Kind of effectively subjugating and controlling those territories. That's kind of a theme that's at play here with Vasgothia, where there are people from that area that have embraced Theran culture.
Yeah.
But then there's another whole aspect of it that stands in opposition to that, thrown in with the Black Forest being something that has a strong folkloric and legendary presence, in a sense, and drawing on that as well. Again, as we can see in all of this, like the foundations, the groundwork is laid in these capsule descriptions in this 2 pages of source book, that kind of lay the groundwork for all that stuff that came after.
Yeah. It's amazing how we can take 2 pages of a source book and make 45 minutes of conversation out of it. I like that. Vasgothians are hardy. This description says they have few cultural traditions, which is why Thera's got, is imprinting their cultural traditions on the Vasgothians. But the general populace there is resourceful and pragmatic, with rural settlements still kind of opposing them because they weren't unified, living in a capital or something along those lines. So the rural folks are kind of like, yeah, I still don't like these strangers coming in. I don't know who they are. I haven't gotten word down from whoever, runs our nation, to kind of go along with this. So they are a very prideful people in Vasgothia. But again, we'll get to that source book eventually. So
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Any further thoughts on the Vivane provinces? Did you want to hit the 2 that are across the sea?
Yeah, I did want to really quickly mention the other 2. These are not technically provinces of the Theran Empire, but they are areas that are mentioned in this source book as places that the Empire has visited and has emissaries at, trying to negotiate, in addition to negotiating trade, but to negotiate perhaps a stronger imperial presence within them.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to take them in opposite order that they're listed in the book here.
Do it.
We've got Araucania is the first one. Across thousands of miles of ocean west of Thera, an oppressively hot and humid land covered in dense jungle. Vast rivers span the land, and their banks provide an unequaled source of medicinal herbs and other useful plants, a.k.a. the Amazon basin. Basically what we're talking about here with this. There's the Coquila root, which is essentially the Earth Dawn equivalent of coffee.
Yep.
That it comes from there.
Yep.
Theran magicians have learned arcane secrets while exploring jungle-covered, buried ruins of an earlier civilization. Kind
of the Mayan theme that Earth Dawn's had running through.
Yeah. I mean, part of the notion, I think, that gets played with from a visual standpoint is not so much that the Therans are influenced by, like, their art kind of has maybe a little bit of a flavor of Mayan / Aztec / Indo-American.
Yeah, Central American
design to it in some respects. The idea not that they were from there, but that when Thera went kaboom, the Therans fled to that area.
Yeah.
You know, some of the Therans, or a faction of the Therans, fled to that area and took their culture and artwork and whatnot with them, and that's what influenced that later design.
Fair. Totally fair.
And then the other one is Aznan,
yes,
which is many thousands of miles south of the island of Thera, a wild land whose jungles and plains abound with exotic and dangerous flora and fauna, famed for its elemental air deposits, the richest of which is above the fabled Cloud Mountain near the southern tip of the vast continent. So this is sub-Saharan Africa, essentially. Once we get into the jungles of, Central Africa with the, like Gorillas in the Mist kind of thing, extending further down south towards South Africa, kind of like sub-equatorial, sub-Saharan Africa down into equatorial Africa and into the southern parts of the continent.
Yeah.
The Empire maintains an outpost. Even though the Therans can easily enslave the people of that land, they transport few of the dark-skinned local people to other parts of the Empire, as native Aznans regularly die of disease soon after arriving in far distant locations. Talking about the natural progression of colonization and the difficulties that happen with that. So those are both mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Neither of those, they might get passing references in other books, but there's no real further detail this presented. I think there might be a little bit that gets fleshed out or discussed about Araucania in the original draft of the Dragon's source book when it's talking about the feathered serpents, because the feathered serpents are sort of from that part of the world primarily. But again, like no real sense of the kind of culture or peoples or whatnot that live there.
No. These are threads that were maybe going to get pulled on later, just didn't get pulled on this time.
Potentially, yeah.
Just didn't get woven into a sock. Kidding. I was talking about thread. Anyway, fabric.
Yeah, I get you.
Really bad metaphor, Dan. So I like all of these as just enough information as to how the Theran Empire operates and what resources it's drawing from as we head further into Vivane, so we can see the contrast for what Vivane, the province, and Vivane, the city, are going to be and compared to all the rest of these.
Up till now, in terms of looking at the original publications, the Theran Empire was always just kind of like, they're this powerful empire that once had influence here and they've been kind of kicked out and kind of want Barsaive back, but we don't really have a lot of information about them. And this is, like I said, there might be a little bit in Explorer's Guide to Barsaive, but again, like very little, certainly not to this extent. No. But this is like, hey, here are some of the other provinces that exist and the diversity of lands and peoples and territories that Thera covers. Laying the groundwork for what got fleshed out to a certain extent in the Theran Empire sourcebook a couple of years later.
Agreed. No questions at all. So, folks, if you have any questions for what you've heard tonight or anything you want to discuss further, we've had a slew of suggestions to cover the Theran Empire sourcebook. We'll see what we can get to. So please drop us a line at edsgpodcast@gmail.com. And until then, take an airship 12 days to cross your realm. For your legend.
Good night, everybody.